But right, but if the hot rodders that we looked up to from the 1950s were here today, they'd be putting LSs in their cars because it's just making it faster. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's funny, I didn't even realize you knew Mike Ryan. So I met Mike Ryan in 2007. I was a journalist at the time. I wrote for a magazine called 0 to 60, and I went out there and we covered Mike running the Freightliner at Pikes Peak and went up the hill with him, and it was one of the sketchiest and scariest rides I've ever been in, because I've been in rally cars, I've been in a bunch of race cars, but to be that high above the guardrail, going or sliding around it, and Mike's just a great guy. So
I gotta try it. I drove it up and down Canoga Avenue in Chatsworth, and had all the neighbors out because they hear it, and then I went to the end of the street and did a burnout from one end of the block, like a city block, to the next end of the block, and the thing was pulling. It felt like an aircraft, and it was doing a burnout the whole time.
The thing is just wild.
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, it was such an amazing thing to see a vehicle that big do what it does. It just doesn't seem like, it's like.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think Mike called it like a fat guy dancing, because it's just not what you expect to see. So
they're like helicopter seats are kind of suspension. They have
well, they're also meant so that when you crash, they actually drop. It's because usually if you crash a helicopter, it auto rotates till you get to the bottom, but it's still going to be a hard landing. It's not going to be soft, so they kind of build them so that they fall out behind them, which because it has that suspension setup, which is very similar. I feel like it's one of the things people overlook until their car burns down, and then they're very good about it.
And one of the things that people overlook is that fire bottles should always be mounted vertically. You should never mount a fire bottle horizontally.
Why?
Because of the siphon. If I was to draw you a picture, if the siphon is in the center of the bottle, okay, and it comes out like this, that means that you're only using half the product.
Oh, interesting.
Right? But if you mount it vertically, the siphon goes all the way to the bottom and you use all the product. So a fire bottle should always be mounted vertically.
I definitely have seen plenty of them mounted horizontally.
All of them. We've got a Porsche race car in the shop that I'm working on right now, and the bottle's got a huge 15-pound bottle, and it's mounted on its side.
Yeah.
And the fire pole is not within the guy's reach. He could not reach it with his seatbelts on. So
that's the last thing you want.
Yeah, you can't have a fire bottle mounted like that. Anyway, we did a little bit of metal work up here and a little bit of Bondo, and then the forehead was so broad on the thing, and I just decided that I wanted something a little different, so I ghost checkered it like this, and then I've just redone it just recently, before the Hot Wheels show, because it had all faded away, because this thing sits out in the sun or out in the weather all day, all year long. So anyway, it's a little bright right now, but
can you see the cuts from inside, or you've cleaned it? You have a headliner in here?
No, there's no headliner, but it's.
But you've lined it?
No, I put a bed liner.
You have to say lined it like a bed liner lining. Like a rhino liner type thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's been retouched, but the hood looks like it came off a car from 1949 and has just sat in the sun for years. Yeah. But you've added some little detail and some stripes there.
These darts right here I had to put on because I made some original hinges. The original hinges I made for this thing I didn't like, and they came way out here, and so I scarred the patina, and so I went back to just these are 41 Ford trunk hinges instead of the fabricated hinges that I had on here. So that's what the deal is with the darts, and I was really disappointed with that whole thing. But anyway, so
it looks good though. It gives it a nice evil look. It ties the whole roof in on this.
So the funny thing about this truck was that we see this nomenclature on the side. And what's funny to me, this is original to the truck, and you wonder how it got saved through all the years. Or what happened is that it was white originally. Mm-hmm. Okay, the lettering was white. And so the truck was black underneath. And so as the white faded away, it left the black.
It actually protected the original paint.
Yes.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So that's original to the truck. And I'm told that phone number is like Wilmington or something like that, somewhere here in Southern California.
By the way, to all of you who have been, I was just saying, to everyone who's been born in the past 35 years, there used to actually be letters and phone numbers back in the day.
Yeah,
so.
WA, and it usually corresponded to the area. Like,
right.
Why you think that was Wilmington?
Right.
WA.
Because that's when you actually had to call an operator and ask an operator to connect you and say, connect me to WA55159. It wasn't like you were just punching it into your phone.
And when I got this truck and I was taking it apart, I have the original license plates for the truck.
Yep.
And it was last registered in 1968.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So.
Very cool.
You know, and I still, when I was working on it in the shop this morning, fixing the rear brake lights, I fall in love with this thing all the time. I mean, I remember building it after I had first driven it for the first time, and just standing and looking in the garage and thinking, it's really beautiful. I mean, and it's so inviting. I mean, like your guys were all helping me get up on the dock.
Yeah.
People don't have a problem at all coming up and sitting on this truck, or putting their foot up on this truck, or putting their coffee cup on top of the truck. I mean, I've had people at shows.
Does that bother you?
Some people, I mean, if they're women, no, not so much. But if a guy walks up and he sets his coffee cup on top of my car, it's a little annoying.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the truck out there on your look.
I know, and I saw Brad put his foot on there.
His foot right here, right?
Yeah.
What is it about this truck that invites people to do that?
Yeah.
And I think it's okay.
Yeah.
It's
kind of, I think the truck has seen its own years. I mean, part of what makes this truck what it is the life it's been told. It tells through, the paint that's worn off here and this, and it's just sort of, it's comfortable. It has that appeal to it. Cool. So no linseed oil on the body.
But linseed oil on the wood in the back, and I hadn't, like I said, a lot of deferred maintenance on this thing, and so I had done it just prior to the Hot Wheels show, and I vaguely remember about linseed oil being somewhat combustible.
Oh, yeah.
So I threw but I didn't remember, and I threw the rags in my rag bin. So I come back from the Hot Wheels show, they do a bunch of filming, right? And then the next morning I get up and I'm in my shop, and my eyes are watering, right? And so I went out and rinsed my eyes, and then I came back and they started watering again. I went out and looked, and my rag bin was on fire, smoldering. And
did you have was it in a proper rag bin?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was in something like this, so it's somewhat safe. These are actually really important, so things like that don't burn your whole shop down. So
it's crazy. Yeah.
It's
the first time that's ever happened to me.
I've read about it. Like, people always say whenever you mention linseed oil, someone, especially on like forums like the Ham, people will be like, be really careful. And it's amazing to think that just the drying of it creates a chemical reaction that'll catch fire. Yeah.
It's crazy.
So word to wise, everyone, if you're using linseed oil, make sure you dispose of it properly.
So, and then the stabilizers, I was going up San Francisco Canyon one day up in the Newhall area, and I hit a little bump going over a little rise, and the front end just like did this big death wobble and just started, and I couldn't get it down under control.
Couldn't get it to stop, yeah.
Yeah, and these are pretty common on these trucks, putting these stabilizers.
I have them on my F-350.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, the exact same thing happens.
Right. Yeah. My other premise is that when I take vehicles, donor vehicles, or in project vehicles apart, I save everything. Right, all the little parts, little nuts and bolts, all the little junk, and then I try to reuse it, repurpose it. And I was so mad at myself. I had the other truck. I had all the window pieces were in the other truck, and all the door handles, and all the stainless was in the back of the other truck. And I had to move out of the place I was in quickly, and I hadn't realized that I had stored it there. And so I sold it to a scrapper. And all my savable parts, all my stainless steel and everything was in the back of the dump bed of the truck. So I threw away all that stuff that I wanted to save. Bedsides. It was originally, the truck was going to be, I wanted a very transparent kind of view of the whole thing. So you can see all the mechanicalness of it.
Yep.
And that's why why we have this replicated grill in the back here. It's wood, but it replicates the grill that's in the front of the truck. But originally the truck was going to have the same going down the sides. And so you'd be able to see into everything. but I thought that was a little too gingerbready.
Right.
And so I changed it up, and I found this
Car.
when I used to work up at Willow Springs, I used to drive by this dilapidated chicken coop in Lancaster. And that was the roofing material and the siding for the chicken coop on my way to Willow Springs. And I got a ton of that stuff, and that's what that is chicken coop.
It works. It's awesome.
Oh, so I used to live up in Lancaster, and I used to drive over the hill to go to cruise night, like Bob's Big Boy.
Yeah.
And then remember the Wednesday night they started the Van Nuys cruise again?
Yep.
So I came over, hauling ass over Angeles Crest out of Palmdale, right? I get over to the Van Nuys Boulevard to the cruise night, and I pull in, and everybody gathers around the truck. It's like its debut, and the left front tire exploded. And I was like, I wasn't putting around when I was going over the crest.
Yeah.
That would have happened going over the crest.
Would have been bad.
Yeah. So I have experiences like that with first runs of builds. Like I had a Harley that I built, and the first time I rode it, I ran out of gas, and a guy came along and asked me if I needed help, and he threw out, and I said, yeah, tow me down, if you got a rope, tow me down to the next gas station or whatever. So he had a trucker's strap, right? A tie-down strap like this wide. And I grabbed a hold of it, and he towed me down. Everything's going bitching, and I threw it out in front of me to let go, and it went right back in front of the tire because I was dead center over him, and it took me out.
Oh.
And I went and I broke my hip.
Oh man, that's
That
rough.
was in 2001.
I had a tow strap go between the bed and the body on my old Nissan Titan and catch like a piece of a weld that was on the drive shaft. And it was a ratchet strap, and it sucked it through and locked the wheels up on the truck at 70 miles an hour on the highway. And I thought I blew the trans or the motor. I couldn't understand what went. Like the motor instantly died because it was an auto, so it just stalled the engine. And then the rear wheels were just locked for like 4 seconds before the strap snapped, and like so I was just sliding down the highway like someone had pulled the handbrake. Very scary. Here's a good look at the rebuilt oil pan that you've created to make everything, give you enough oil quantity.
Yeah, and give me clearance. Yeah.
That's close.
Yeah.
That's really close.
That's speed bump close right there.
Wow.
Like I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but I've tore this hole in this oil pan twice.
Ooh.
Once I was going into a transmission shop to talk to a guy about a different car, different transmission.
Yeah.
And so I drove in his driveway, and he has a iron gate that rolls on a track. And so as I rolled over it kind of went kink like that. Mm-hmm. And I rolled up, I went in and talked to him, I came back out, and there was 14 quarts of oil on his driveway.
Oh.
And he was pissed. He was pissed.
You should build like a skid plate. Just put like a plate here so that you can, so that way when you come to places like here and you can't get up the ramp, you can just gun it and just slide over it.
The other time I punctured it, I got pulled over on the 14 freeway for speeding by highway patrol. And I went off, so I go over to the shoulder, and I noticed that the shoulder was really jagged, and it ripped a hole in it.
Oof.
This thing's been on the tow truck a few times. I hate you.